Namaste and welcome, dear friends, to the second class of the Bhagavad Gita. Before we go into the class proper, I have a couple of announcements. The first thing is that the books that we are referring to, so we are going to be studying from two books. The first is God Talks with Arjuna by Sri Paramahansa Yogananda, and the second is The Essence of the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. So that is one announcement. The other is that all these classes and these talks are going to be uploaded on YouTube. The name of the channel is at Radhika Joy. And besides these classes, the other classes of the Holy Science, of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and the Life of Christ are already present on that channel. So if you want to rewatch, rehear, or you want to share the link, you are very welcome to do so. The third announcement is that we are thinking of starting a question and answer session at the end of the class. So we shall be keeping, let's say, about 5-10 minutes at the end. So whoever wants to ask a question pertinent to the contents of the class that day, you're welcome to write down your question in the chat box, and Captain Joy will then read out those questions at the end of the class to me, and I shall try to answer them to the best of my capacity. So with all that announcements on one side now, let us proceed. And as always, we shall invoke the presence of God and the Gurus before we dive into the subject. So let us sit straight. Let us gaze at the point between the eyebrows. Let us take a long, deep breath and bring our energy up to the point between the eyebrows. And here, let us invoke the presence of God. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji, Krishna, Lahiri Mahashay, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Gurudev Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. Beloved Divine Mother, receive thou the fervor of my soul, the devotion of incarnations, the love of ages that I have kept locked in the vault of my heart. I am thy child mother, bring me home. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us now invoke the presence of the Gurus by singing the hymn to Brahma. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Brahmanandam Parama Sukhadam Kevalam Dhyanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna-rahitam Sadgurum Tvam Namami. Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Bandhu cha Sakha Let us now sing a chant to Divine Mother. Divine Mother as Durga is the power that is enlivening us. Divine Mother as Saraswati is the wisdom that opens our understanding to the highest truth. And Divine Mother as Ma Lakshmi bestows us with the prosperity so that we are not bothered by our daily hunger and we can actually devote our time towards higher spiritual wisdom. So let's call upon the Mother to bathe us in her light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. In our mental sky, let us feel the Mother's light shining upon us, shining on the whole universe, blessing us, uplifting us, opening our hearts and minds to the highest wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. And let us remember that the Bhagavad Gita is the utterance of Lord Krishna himself. Understanding the importance of this great scripture, with reverence, we shall dive into it. I'll do a short reading from Whispers from Eternity. With an interiorized consciousness, with closed eyes, you may feel what Yogananda ji is trying to say here. Make me thy butterfly of eternity. I have burnt my past, destroying every seed of evil destiny. I have stridden bravely through the strewn ashes of my past and future fears. I am the eternal now, having torn to shreds my enclosing cocoon of ignorance with the sharp knife of free will. Now I am thy soaring butterfly of eternity, flitting freely through immeasurable skies of time. The beauty of my wings I spread out through nature everywhere to entertain all beings. My wings are sprinkled with suns and stardust. Lo, I am beautiful. May every silken thread that shrouded my past folly be severed forever. See thy trail now behind me, only adding to my beauty as I wing my way to my own self in thee. Let us do this following affirmation by Paramahansa Yogananda. We shall do it 3 times, first loudly, then softly, and then mentally. I demand my divine birthright, intuitively realizing that all wisdom and power already exist in my soul. I demand my divine birthright, intuitively realizing that all wisdom and power already exist in my soul. I demand my divine birthright, intuitively realizing that all wisdom and power already exist in my soul. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So friends, we continue our study of the Bhagavad Gita. In the first class, we discussed about the history of the Gita as to the authorship of the Gita, from where it has been extracted, then what is the main theme of the Gita, what is the doctrine of the Gita, and what the word Bhagavad Gita means actually. And by the end of the class, we reach to the life of Bhagavan Krishna, who is, of course, the central character of the Bhagavad Gita. So continuing a little bit more about Krishna, is Master says, Sri Krishna, with the enchanting melodies of his heavenly flute, he is calling all devotees to the bower of divine union in Samadhi meditation, to bask in the blissful love of God. Another important aspect of Sri Krishna's life, which we did not mention in the last classes, that Sri Krishna with his Balaram actually went to a guru. Of course, we heard the name of the Rishi Sandipani, and Krishna was under him as a disciple, and therefore the Guru Shishya Parampara is always continued in almost all religions. When we read his story of Christ, we know that Christ was baptized by John the Baptist, and similarly Krishna has a guru, and he attends all his learning from that guru. He receives the blessings of the guru, because although Krishna is an avatar, but the way of righteousness has to be maintained, and therefore maintaining that tradition, Sri Krishna and his brother are disciples of a great master. Okay. The important thing in Bhagavad Gita about Sri Krishna's role is, of course, we know he's a cousin, he's a friend of Arjuna, but he's also the guru and counselor of Arjuna in the Mahabharata. And his message is somewhere hidden behind all the dialogue that he's going to present further, is going to be a balance between right activity and meditation. And we will understand how that unfolds. Now he also Krishna shows us that there is no real need to renounce this world, to renounce the worldly activities, but God can come to you wherever you are placed. And we also remember Sri Jnana Mataji, in God Alone, she says that if God will not come to where he has placed me, then where else shall I find him? So all those of us who think of renouncing the worldly duties and running away to the forest or the Himalayan caves, or to some secluded spot, we can follow the example of Sri Krishna. And he says there is no need to go to such a secluded spot, but what you need to actually do is to not to have first earth binding desires, and secondly to offer the fruits of action to the Lord. If you are able to do these two things wherever you are placed, then it is equal to or even better than leaving the world and living in a forest. Of course, for some, they have such karma and such a yearning and such a predicament, and they have their temperament to live their lives all alone. And monks are they are leading their lives like that, so which is appropriate for them. But since most of us are grahastas already, when we came on the path, most of us were already grahastas, and therefore we need to fulfill the duties of a grahasta, of a householder. And even Mahavatar Babaji sent Lahiri Mahashay after initiating him into Kriya Yoga in this life. He sent him back to his family life, back to his office job. Then, even though Lahiri Mahashay just wanted to leave everything and be with Babaji in the cave, but Babaji said that in this life, this is going to be your role. This is going to give, a comfort and inspiration to the householder who is enmeshed in the daily duties, that in spite of being a householder, we can attain to salvation, we can attain to that inner freedom and that blissful state. And it's interesting that the goal for the monk and the householder is exactly the same. It is oneness in Sachidananda. And just simply putting it, it's if the monk goes via the bypass, the householder goes via the city route, and he meets with much more traffic and many more lights in between and many more troubles in between. He has to take certain shorter cuts, tries to go through by lanes and does a lot of things. But eventually the city road and the bypass road meet at the same point of final fulfillment. And therefore the goal is the same. So do not feel disheartened. Keep your goal high, keep your aspiration towards self-realization, and keep moving bit by bit towards that goal. Sometimes you may be running, sometimes you're walking, sometimes you're crawling, but as long as your direction is set, you are not going to lose. God is seeing every effort that you're putting in. He's listening to every prayer that you are uttering to him. And therefore, and also we will read how in the Gita, Sri Krishna says to Arjuna that my devotee is never lost. And of course, we are devotees of Lord Krishna, so don't feel disheartened. Okay. So Sri Krishna also says that it is for the busy man of the world, or whether it is the highest spiritual aspirant. So we said in the last class that wherever man is on his journey backwards towards God or towards infinite or towards his own self, the Gita will shine light on that part of his journey. So that means, although in the highest sense, the Bhagavad Gita is, it's a moksha shastra, yet even those who do not desire final emancipation. Now, there can be many sets of people who want material gain or who want fulfillment in relationships, or they want to have a pleasing earthly life or a pleasing afterlife. So for whoever wants whatever actually, but the path of course has to be Godward. It has to be in a positive direction. The Gita will shed light on some aspect of their journey. But let us remember that we might as well pick up, the books written by business tycoons if you want to be materially rich. We can pick up books by great artists and musicians if we want to excel in that field, or by great intellectual. But the fact that we are picking up the Gita, we might as well keep the highest goal as moksha, and let's not fall short of that. And let's keep striving towards that. We are going to be able to achieve, because it is the promise of our great Guru Paramahansa Yogananda that if we were to follow just 100th of what guidelines he has given us, the teachings, the techniques, and all the tools that we have, then we will find God in this lifetime. And when Yogananda ji finished writing his Bhagavad Gita, he said, millions will find God through this scripture. Now, can't we be one of those millions? Of course, we can be one of those millions. We are going to be one of them who is going to find our Atmic self, our creator, our God, as we study this scripture. And not only study, but let us absorb it and let us make it alive in our life. Okay. So let's now begin the allegory. Now the contents of the class are now going to get a little complicated because now Yogananda ji is going to lay the foundation of the battle. Before we enter into the first verse, we must understand what the characters of the Mahabharata mean to us. Because what if the battle of Mahabharata or Kurukshetra happened 3,000 years ago? How is it relevant to me today? Why should I read the Bhagavad Gita, which was said 3,000 years ago? It has to be very, very relevant, pragmatic to me, to my life, useful to my life. Otherwise, what's the point? So that is now Yogananda ji will tell us that how the characters of the Mahabharata are actually our own inner characters in our own inner world, and how the battle begins and what is the difficulty with the battle and how it can be won. And of course, he first explains how human being himself has come into existence. So he will explain how from cosmic consciousness or from absolute existence, how energy and has descended down to the level of the human body, and how in the human body the various characters are playing in the chakras, and what each of them means. So actually Gita is going to, it's a manual which tells us how we can reverse our condition from this strange, limited human condition to higher states of consciousness, traversing all the way from human consciousness to super consciousness to Kutastha Chaitanya, that's Krishna consciousness, to the Om, and of course to God the Father, or Sat, or Brahman, and so on. Okay, so before the metaphysics, most of us know the story. So let me first enumerate the story of the descent of the Pandus and the Kauravas, the ones in between the battle has to be fought. So the story, if we remember, begins with the king Shantanu. So King Shantanu marries Ganga. Now Ganga has 8 children, and supposedly she drowns for the first 7 of her children, and only the 8th one is supposed to be alive, to be living, and that 8th child is Bhishma Pitahama, right? And then of course Shantanu also marries another wife who's called Satyavati, and through Satyavati he has 3 children. One is Vedavyasa, one is Vichitravirya, and there's the third one who's called Chitrangada. And then Chitrangada and Vichitravirya, they both die early. Vichitravirya has 2 wives by the name of Ambika and Ambalika. And then because Vichitravirya dies, then Vedavyasa sires means is the father through Ambika, he is the father of Dhritarashtra, and through Ambalika, he is the father of Pandu. And then Pandu marries Kunti and Madri. Through Kunti and Madri, he has 5 children, namely Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev. On the other hand, Dhritarashtra marries Gandhari, and there's another wife by the name of Vaishya. And of course, the kings used to have multiple wives, so naming only these 2. So the Dhritarashtra and Gandhari is supposed to be the parents of 100 Kauravas. And then through Vaishya, Dhritarashtra has a son whose name is Yuyutsu. Now, Yuyutsu is a character who takes part in the battle from the side of the Pandavas. And then, of course, we know that Krishna comes into the picture where Arjuna goes and invites Krishna. And then the battle is fought. And then, of course, the dialogue before the battle is fought, the Gita dialogue is given. So now this is the story in short. Now, how does this story come to us? What is the meaning of the story in us? And of course, I forgot to mention one of the main characters, which is Draupadi, which is the wife of all these 5 Pandavas. And she's also the reason why the battle was fought in the first place. Okay, so now Shantanu, King Shantanu represents cosmic consciousness or God the Father or Sat. Now he marries Ganga. Ganga represents the holy vibration of Om, or what the Christians say as word. Now, the first son that is born to cosmic consciousness or Sat and the vibration of Om is Kutastha Chaitanya or Tat or Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness. Okay. And after that, 6 more children that are born are supposed to be the 6 intelligences that govern the universe at 2 levels, at the macrocosmic level, at the microcosmic level. So the macrocosm is the large universe, and the microcosm is each individual being. So each one of us is a small microcosm. Now, these have to be maintained at 3 levels. We know causal, astral, and physical. So the entities that, the 6 entities, out of that, the 3 entities that manage the universe at the macrocosmic level, at the causal level is Ishvara, at the astral level is Hiranyagarbha, and at the physical level is Virat. At the microcosmic level, that means at our level, the entities that actually manage this, the microcosm at the causal level is Tejasa, at the astral level is Pragya. Sorry, I'm mistaken. I will reverse this. So at the causal level, it's Pragya. At the astral level is Tejasa. And at the physical level is Vishwa. So these are the next 6 children. Now, why does Ganga have to drown all of these children? So because at the human level, although these 6 intelligences and the Kutastha Chaitanya are functional all the time, but at the human level, they do not appear to be visible to us. They do not appear to be obvious or manifest to us. So in a sense, for us, they are drowned or invisible. They are drowned in the stream of the Ganga, means they are hidden inside the Holy Ghost vibration. But the 8th child, that is Abhas Chaitanya. That 8th child is Abhas Chaitanya, which represents Bhishma Pitama. Now that is the reflected consciousness, which is now available to each one of us. So how do we differentiate between Kutastha Chaitanya and Abhas Chaitanya, or difference between the larger one consciousness awareness and the little awareness that each one of us has? It is very simple. So the fact that your brain and your nervous system are making you capable of feeling, of hearing, of seeing. So the operation of the senses that make you aware of this world through your brain and spinal cord and the physical nervous system, that level of awareness. So for example, you say, okay, I'm aware that I'm sitting in this room. This room has a sofa, it has a table, it has a computer, it has a phone. Then of course I can see, I can hear, I can smell. So this level of awareness, which functions through the human brain and spinal cord and nervous system, this is what we are generally aware of, and that is the only awareness that we have, and that is Abhasa Chaitanya. But we forget that our very brain, our very spinal cord, our very nervous system is actually functioning because of a larger intelligence behind it, which is the Kutastha Chaitanya. So for example, if we take these days artificial intelligence is in, so even a door at the airport has the power to see. So it sees you, it's coming, and it opens up. So it has a certain level of intelligence. All AI machines have a certain level of a very advanced intelligence, but there are 2 problems with it. The artificial intelligent machine is not self-aware or self-consciousness. It has no first-hand experience. For example, we say, I am experiencing this situation. I am doing a certain mathematical calculation. So it is a first person experience that each one of us is having of this world. The artificially intelligent machine can never have a first hand experience. So no human or no artificial intelligence can replicate the very awareness and consciousness that each atom of this universe has. And so that is one thing. The other thing about artificial intelligence is that the artificially intelligent machine does not know that it has been created by an even smarter person. So all machines that you use have been created by human intelligence, which is higher in many ways than the artificial intelligence. So for example, in the artificial intelligence, you have fed the algorithm of, A to B, B to C, C to D, and so on to till Z. But if a sudden situation arises where, depending on your perception, a different decision has to be taken, the human intelligence can go straight from A to Z, considering the entire situation. But the algorithm of the artificial intelligence will keep going from A, B, C, D. So human intelligence is higher than the artificial intelligence because it has created the artificial intelligence. But the artificially intelligent machine is not aware, first, of its own self-consciousness and awareness. Secondly, that it has been created by a higher intelligence. Similarly, our little awareness of functioning in this world, the thing that I feel that I'm awake and I'm aware and I can feel, I can see, that is not aware in a usual common daily basis that it is being run by a much higher awareness, a larger consciousness, a much larger intelligence. And so therefore our common daily awareness of this world is the abhasa chaitanya, and the larger intelligence which has brought into this brain, this nervous system, and the smaller awareness is the kutastha chaitanya. And of course, the Kutastha Chaitanya needs the Holy Ghost vibration to operate upon. So the Holy Ghost is like the substratum of the universe. That's why we say Om is the substance of the universe. Patanjali says Om is the name of God, and it is on which the reflection of God the Father or Sat is happening. So, Bhishma Pitama is the only visible, or the Abhasa Chaitanya is the only visible son of God the Father and God the Mother. Means God the Father is Shantanu and God the Mother is Ganga. So he is now visible. Now what happens is, now interestingly, this awareness that we work with in this world, it sees that through its vision, it will see objects. Through its hearing, it will hear to sounds. But in itself, awareness is not affected by the sound and the object of vision or the other senses as well. So that is why symbolically in the Mahabharata, they said that Bhishma Pitama renounces the throne. So he has no control over the exact daily functioning of the kingdom. He is very much present. He is overlooking, but he is not directly managing the throne, and he renounces all of that. So that is what is happening in us, that our awareness is making everything function, the senses and the mind function, but in itself is not being affected by the things that are happening. To understand this example more, we can take the example of the sun and its light. So, okay, so this light of the sun will fall upon the entire earth. At some point, that light of the earth will shine in a dewdrop. At some point in vegetation, the leaves will create food out of that sunlight. At some point, the water flowing in the river or the ocean will be converted into water vapor. So the sunshine is not bothered by what activities are happening on the earth because of it. But of course, we know that a variety of activity, in fact, life itself is running because of that light shining. But the light itself is unconcerned by the separate entities of activity. Similarly, this awareness that we have it is not touched directly by the activities, but it is responsible for those activities. Okay, so now what happens is, now we have Shantanu also marries Satyavati. Satyavati represents primordial nature, so the Prakriti itself. So we know that without Prakriti, all this nature that we see around, nothing of our existence is possible, because we are so dependent on Prakriti for everything. So Satyavati represents that. Now Satyavati has 3 children. Vedavyasa represents the sense of relativity, and he represents the discriminating power. So relativity, of course, once the world of duality has been formed, then there's going to be relativity. Like when there is up and down or right or left or this and that, then relativity will come into play. Whenever there is more than one, relativity is going to come into play. Then what happens is that Vichitra Virya. Now, Vichitra Virya he is actually representing divine ego. So I will tell you what that would mean. But let's first go to Chitrangada. Chitrangada represents the divine primordial element. Now, what does this mean? Now, when we studied the holy science in chapter 1, Sri Yukteswarji explained that there are 24 principles of creation. What were those 24 principles of creation? 4 are the Man, Buddhi, Ahamkar, Chitta. Then there are the 5 organs of sensations, that is the Indriyas. Then there are the Gyan Indriyas. Then there are the 5 organs of action called the Karma Indriyas. Then there are the 5 types of objects of the senses. And then there is the Pancha Tattva, or the 5 elements, means earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So together these form the 24 principles on which the entire creation is based. Now these 24 principles are not separate from you. You are made of these 24 principles. So whenever you are studying the scripture, apply it to yourself. You have 5 organs of senses. You have 5 organs of action. There are 5 types of objects around you through which to which your senses are attracted. Hearing is attracted to sound, vision is attracted to objects of sight, then touch is there, smell is there. So those objects are another 5. And of course, we know that the human body is made of the Pancha Tattva. And then the mind is operational, Man, Buddhi, Ahamkar, Chitta. So these are the 24 principles. So it is said that because the divine primordial element, it divides into its 24 constituents, therefore, Chitrangata, he dies early. Okay, so once he is dead, now the rest of the principles are going to come into play. Now comes Vichitra Virya. So Vichitra Virya says the first transformation. He is a half-brother of Bhishma Pitama, right? So Bhishma Pitama is Abhasa Chaitanya, and when that is individualized into a single causal body at the cause, so divine ego is the ego at the causal body level. It understands its oneness with spirit. And so ego can go either towards spirit, or it can go and bind itself to material creation. Okay. So then now Vichitra Virya has 2 wives. One is Ambika. Now, Ambika represents in us, she represents negative doubt. Negative doubt means perceiving without clear discernment. So you have not considered a matter very clearly. You have not made a very observatory, like a scientist, you have not observed a situation, but you just jump to conclusions and you come to negative doubts in your own mind. And that is what is represented by Ambika. Then Ambalika represents the positive discriminating faculty. Okay. Now, why is Vichitra Virya not obvious? It is said that because once the Abhasa Chaitanya, it becomes the ego separately, then the ego is not able to perceive that it was the pure self. It has descended from the pure self. And because it is not able to perceive that, therefore Vichitra Virya is also kind of banished in this, and not banished. So he is also not perceivable to us. So then comes Vedavyasa. Now Vedavyasa is, according to the story, he has to be kind of, he has to sire with Ambika and Ambalika. So with Ambika, Vedavyasa has a son, and that son is Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra is the blind sense mind. So now think of it, just remove the characters, think of it, that if the power of relativity were to combine with negative doubt. So there is relativity in this universe. You are looking all around everywhere. You have not made correct observances or come to correct conclusions and inferences because of negative doubt. So then what will happen? The conclusions that you draw are going to be lacking in any discriminating facility, and they're going to be like a blinded person, a blinded entity, and therefore is born the blind sense mind, which is Dhritarashtra. Now consider that relativity or Ved Vyasa marries a positive discriminating capability. Then what will be the son? The son that will be born is Pandu. It represents an intelligence, a discriminatory positive intelligence. Now, interestingly, Sri Yukteswarji in the Holy Science explained that how at the level of man and buddhi, the man becomes the negative pole and buddhi becomes the positive pole. Why? Because buddhi, a person who lives in his intelligence, in his positive discriminatory power, is able to perceive the soul and go back to its source. On the other hand, a person in whom the Dhritarashtra tendency or the sense mind is more predominant, he is going to be attracted all the time towards worldly things, and therefore he is going to be always enmeshed in the world. So all of this, if you read Master's writings, if you read combined with Sri Yukteswarji's writings, it's an amazing, they have weaved the characters of not only this story, but how we have descended and who we really are into this amazing story. Now think of Ved Vyasa. Every time I read this, I say, oh, wow, what an authorship. How much wisdom, what power has been brought down from the infinite, a story has been weaved, and underlying that story is lying all the wisdom of who we are, what we need to do, and where we need to go. Okay. Now, Pandu is married to Kunti, and he is married to Madri. Yes. So through Kunti, now Kunti also represents a particular quality in us, and that is the quality of dispassion. And some of you might know that the another name for Kunti was Pritha. And because her name was Pritha, Krishna would lovingly called Arjuna Parth. So because Parth is son of Pritha, son of Kunti. Okay, so now Kunti represents dispassion. So what happens is when the power of your buddhi or pure intelligence gets wedded to a level of vairagya or dispassion, then three sons are born. And three sons are children of, they have godly qualities shown as being children of those gods. So basically, they are representing those higher faculties. So the eldest son, Yudhishthir, is representing divine calmness. Then Bhima is representing the ability to control life force of prana. And Arjuna is representing fiery self-control. And through the other wife, are born Nakula and Sahadeva. So even Madhuri represents attachment to dispassion. So of course, Vairagya is a good state to be in, but a little lesser than that state would be you're attached to your Vairagya. So that is what Madhuri represents. And through Madhuri, there are two sons born, and they are supposed to be sons of the Ashwin Kumars, and they are called Nakul and Sahadeva. So now, think of yourself. Now, these are again, don't think of these characters as outside yourself. Now, the energy is descending, the infinite spirit, through its power of Kutastha Chaitanya, through the six intelligences, through the limited awareness, has now come into the body and mind. The body and mind have a positive buddhi, they have a negative sense mind, they have all those 24 principles of the sense organs and the organs of action already there. Now, where are the sons located in the body? Where are the 5 Pandavas in the body? And they represent the chakras in our body. So from below upwards, the Mooladhara chakra represents Sahadeva, and that is the power to resist evil. The second chakra from below, that is the Swadhisthana chakra, is represented by Nakula, and that is the power to adhere to virtue. The third chakra or the Manipur chakra is Arjuna, and this represents fiery self-control. Then at the heart center or the Anahat chakra is where Bhima is present, and Bhima represents power of prana control. Now remember that the Anahat chakra is responsible for the entire, not only the cardiovascular system, the heart, but also responsible for all the breathing activities. So it's a vital center. And here, I would like to mention that in the battle of the Mahabharata, in the Kurukshetra battle, it is Bhima who is finally able to kill Duryodhana. So it is the power of prana control. When you become a master of controlling your prana, you shall be automatically able to kill Duryodhana, and we'll understand what Duryodhana represents. Coming to the fifth chakra or the throat chakra is the Vishuddha chakra, and that represents Yudhishthir and the power of divine calmness. Now, without divine calmness, no battle can be won. Whenever you are in an emotional situation, whenever there's a difficulty outside and you become emotional, you can never win that battle. But whatever the situation is on the outside, if you were to maintain your calmness, then solutions will come to you. Then you will have the courage to be able to place your powers correctly and use your resources correctly. And then you will be able to fight and win the battle. So therefore, Yudhishthir, who is present here, is extremely important. Of course, all the characters are important. Now, what happens is, now why do these 5 brothers have to have one wife? Now, we should remember that there is one energy that is moving through all of these chakras, and one energy has to wed all of these chakras, so to make the body functional. So when the energy is descending, when the body is created, when the ovum and the sperm unite, it is said that first the energy, it actually goes through the spine, the initial forming spine, and then it gets locked at the lower end, and then the rest of the body is formed around that spinal, the nerve center, the neuronal canal. And that energy that gets locked below the Muladhara chakra, that is represents the Kula Kundalini or Draupadi. And she has to have 5 husbands, and she had, by moving through each of the chakras, she is going to produce an offspring, because every chakra, we know, has a certain quality. It has a good quality, and it may have a kind of a negative intonation as well. But Draupadi moving, or Kundalini moving through in all the chakras, will have its own manifestation in the world. And those are the sons or the offsprings of Draupadi with the Pandavas. Okay. So, okay, Yogananda ji mentions here, he says, though all the 5 chakras are important, there is a relative difference in their importance. So the lower 2 chakras, when they are spiritualized, they help you to lead a good, moral and noble life on earth. On the other hand, the upper 3 chakras, they are responsible for your spiritual growth. So without having the foundation of the Yam and the Niyam, or what Nakul and Sahadev represents, adherence to virtue and resisting evil, without that, firstly, a good life, human life, is also not possible. Secondly, if you don't have that foundation, then how are you going to raise your energy to the upper centers? Therefore, you should have this knowledge that the upper centers are predominantly, responsible for spirituality, but you have to have the good grounding and a lot of energy movement even in the lower centers towards the right direction, so that you can lay the foundation of your life on dharma. And then only shall you be able to achieve what is the result of, moving the energy in the higher centers. This should be very clear to each one of us. Okay. So now when the Gita dialogue commences, now Master says that what is the scene? So the scene is that man's soul consciousness, that is his realization of his oneness, has descended through various gradations into mortal body consciousness. So now the spirit has become the individual jiva and is living in the mortal body. Now the senses and the blind mind and the power of pure discrimination, both are reigning in the body. All of us have that positive buddhi aspect and the negative sense mind aspect. And there is a constant conflict between the materialistic senses, which will draw you towards external pleasures, versus the pure discriminatory power, which is going to draw you back to soul consciousness or to spirit consciousness. And as we said earlier, that is why Sri Yukteswarji labeled the buddhi as a positive pole and the blind sense mind as a negative pole, because buddhi takes you towards soul and the mind will take you towards the world. Okay. Now a very important concept comes in. What is the game of dice that is being played by Shakuni? So Shakuni and the game of dice, they represents the game of life that we are playing. It is the game of delusion. Now the game of delusion is going to be so smart. It is going to outsmart you. The game is very charming, and man stakes his entire bodily kingdom and all his soul bliss in gambling with the deceitful matter inclined senses, only to be overpowered by them. That is, the pure discrimination is ousted from its reign and has to go into exile. So we know when the game of dice happened, the Pandavas lost because of their gambling. They lost everything and they had to go into exile. So what does this mean? Because your blind sense mind and its tendencies are always into the outer world, and they are attracted by the things of this outer world, like name, fame, money, power. So what you do is, because you think that it is very charming to gain a lot of wealth, so what you do is you put everything at stake. So to get a lot of money, if you want to become a billionaire right now, you will cheat, you will lie, you will put others down. And so all the yamas and niyamas will go weary, means it out of hand. So that means you will create so much karma for yourself in an outward movement towards a delusive world, that you will stake your entire, the peace of your body and mind, your entire kingdom is lost. And you are willing to stake, willing to do anything to, if you find something attractive in this world, you are willing to do anything for it. And you stake your everything, and once you stake it, then you lose. What you lose? You lose your mental peace. Your peace of mind is gone. Your fearlessness, which is natural to your soul state, is gone. And where are you landing? Anxiety, worry, fear, sense of loss, sense of limitation, sense of being a victim, all of that. So that is the exile that you are going into. All of us do that all the time. And very interestingly, a parallel drawing from the Ramayana is this game of dice is so charming that even in the Ramayana, when Sita sees a golden deer, and even though Ram himself is telling her that it could be a delusion, but she is getting attracted to it. And because she gets attracted to that golden deer, which is so out of place. So whenever you find in this world that something is more attractive than it should be, so use your common sense and intelligence all the time. Whenever you find something appears to be more attractive, a scheme or something is being shown to you, which is going to give you a lot of profit, and there are many things like that. So if it appears to be more attractive than it should be, know that it is a trap and withdraw from it. Do not indulge into it. This is a game of delusion. It is being played and we are getting caught. Even Sita got caught in it. And again, of course, there's also exile in the Ramayana. So it also represents, there's a common theme going there. A 12 years or a 13 years or a 14 years exile also has a meaning. And let's understand that meaning. Okay. So Master says that once, when we are born and when we are children, then mostly our buddhi is, it's a predominant thing which is acting, and therefore children do not make many mistakes. But once you come into adolescence and the temptations are suddenly there, and your past life karmas and your samskaras are there, which are going to attract you towards those temptations. And then, of course, you will enter into the regime of greed, of anger, of sex, of jealousy, egotism. And then you have to, then the original ruler. So the Pandavas being the original rulers, they are sent to exile. All means all those positive activities and all the negative attributes, they start to reign, and then a battle has to happen to regain all of that. Once bad sense habits are well established, the free will of wisdom is banished for at least 12 years. A very important figure. For 12 years, once you have really done something which is not noble, not so moral, you have developed a very bad habit tendency, then it takes a total of 12 years to come out of that. 12 years in the normal human cycle. Of course, we know Kriya Yoga is going to accelerate things. One cycle of Kriya will be 1 year. And that is why Kriya is so priceless. So that is why the exile is for 12 years. The 13th year has to be spent in, shouldn't be recognized. So what is that 13th year? So by those 12 years, the Pandavas have, of course, they have realized their mistake. They know they have lost the kingdom. They know they have to regain the kingdom. They know they have to fight the battle. So they are preparing to fight that battle in that time. And the 13th year is the Agyatavas, where they should not be seen. And it in metaphysically means that your egos should not be seen, and you should be more going towards the sadhana of self-realization. So in that 13th year, you practice your meditation, you practice your sadhana, and you touch your soul consciousness in meditation. And as many times you are able to touch your soul consciousness, you are going to be able to banish the ego consciousness those many number of times. So if you are a real ardent devotee and you're really seeking to go back to your kingdom of mental peace, your own kingdom of oneness with spirit, then you have to make the effort of doing your sadhana, of realizing that you are the soul, again and again touching that soul consciousness in meditation. Not only in meditation, I would say, if you're practicing karma yoga, then you have to all the time for complete 1 year, I would say, if you can give the doership to God all the time, if you can be such a bhakti yogi that you can surrender and be in love with God all the time, if you're such a jnana yogi that you're contemplating on the highest truth of who you are all the time, and you are, of course, doing your meditation and getting into samadhi states, even little grades of those samadhi states, then only will you, then the battle can be won, because Krishna is going to be on your side. So this is, the mathematics, the game that is happening, and how we are placed in that. And Duryodhana, what about the Kauravas? Duryodhana represents material desire. And that is why Duryodhan, the one who is difficult to be, to beat in war, that is Duryodhan. It is very difficult to kill material desire, very difficult. That is why he's Duryodhan. And what happens when our desire is frustrated? Then we have anger, and that is what is represented by Dushasan, the second brother. And again, all these characters are all within us. Master has enumerated all the 100 Kauravas within us in his book. So please refer to the book. I will just read out about, let's say, 10, 15 of these characteristics, which all of us have to some degree. And these are, of course, desire, anger, the first two. Then meanness, cruelty, ill will, greed, hate, jealousy, lust, selfishness, covetousness, impatience, unkindness, desire to hurt others. These are just enumerating a few. The total of 100 have been mentioned by Master. These are all within us. So the battle is happening right within us. Don't think that, it was a story so long back. So then Master says the awakened soul force and the meditation evolved self-control must seize the kingdom and plant therein the banner of spirit, establishing a reign with peace, wisdom, abundance, and health. And then he says, each person has to fight his own battle of Kurukshetra. It is a war not only worth winning, but in the divine order of the universe and of the eternal relationship between the soul and God, a war that sooner or later must be won. In the holy Bhagavad Gita, the quickest attainment of that victory is assured to the devotee who, through undiscourageable practice of divine science of yoga meditation, learns like Arjuna to hear to the inner wisdom song of spirit. With that thought, my dear friends, we will end today's class. And of course, those who have questions can put them in the chat box. But let us share the power, the vibrations, the blessings of these teachings with souls everywhere. Let us all pray together. Divine Mother, beloved Krishna, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children, all minds, and all souls. Divine Mother, dear Lord Krishna, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.